We're back in the shed and it's time for Ask GMBN. You ready, Scott?
But I am now, Neil. Let's get to it, shall we?
Right, I'll hit you with some. First question comes from Yoda and then a load of numbers. What's the upper limit in terms of capability for cyclocross bikes on trails?
That's a hard one. I think it depends probably on your riding ability. I mean, did you see that epic video a few years of Greg Minnaar? He was getting sideways, drifting it, thrashing that thing. So definitely depends on your capability.
Yeah, Johan Borelli rides it pretty hard.
Down Whistler Bike Park.
Although I'm pretty sure he breaks things on that bike. I guess I wouldn't be doing I wouldn't be doing any drop-offs, things like that on a cyclocross bike. But I guess you can ride most trails. You'd have to slow down because you'll puncture, I guess, in some places. But
definitely blue trails at a trail centre. Maybe red. Blacks, debatable.
Yes, true. Right, next one comes from Boris Atanasov. Yeah, Boris. My wheel pulls to the left while heavy braking. How do I stop it? He searched for his problem on the internet and nothing helps.
Pulls to the left when he's braking. That's a pretty interesting one. Perhaps his spokes are loose on one side.
Yeah, I would
getting pulled over, something like that.
Check your front wheel and your fork. Check that your front wheel's in tight. Is it a quick release? That would be dodgy if it was loose. And then, yeah, it sounds to me like more of a problem with the wheel than anything if it's pulling to the left. But definitely get that checked as soon as possible.
Right.
Right, Denali Binjan. When I go off a jump, sometimes I stretch out either my Achilles tendon or the one in front when I land. I can't imagine this is good if repeated over and over. How can I prevent this?
So he stretches it out before he goes or when he's in the air?
No, I think it's when he lands, he's actually stretching his Achilles. I would say probably that's down to foot placement. And if you're riding too far forward on your toes, all that weight's going to go through your ankle and through that tendon. So I would check out our video on foot placement on pedals. You should be able to see where riders' hips are just by looking at their feet. If their feet are flat on the pedals, it means your weight's above the bike in the centre. If your heels are down, it means your hips are to the back. If your toes are down, it means your hips are up and forward. Where you actually place your foot on the pedal, front to back, actually makes a big difference to how easy you find moving your weight around on the bike. Nath Furtz has got a RockShox Reverb dropper post, but he doesn't like the standard plunger style remote. Is there anything you can do about it?
Well, this is an interesting one because I didn't actually know the answer to this until you told me. Obviously, it's a hydraulic post, so it needs to have an operation through the oil. It's not cable operated, and you can't change an XTR shifter like some of the Shimano riders do. No. But there is an aftermarket Novi parts.
Yeah, that's it. There's a French manufacturer called Novi Parts, make their own reverb remote. So Google that, you should find one if you like.
Pretty smart.
Yeah, good idea. Okay, John Green, do you have any advice on teaching kids to mountain bike?
Oh, before you go anywhere, I actually saw a really cool video. Chris Kavarik, Aussie Dano rider, he took a whole bunch of kids to a pump track. So and they look like they're having a great time.
Wow, I was going to recommend pump tracks actually. Definitely really safe, fun places for kids to ride their bikes. Also, you can ride them on the balance bikes, so you don't really need to pedal around them. And you can check out our video on how to ride a pump track. This is all about using your weight and trying to squash the bike into the floor. When you do that at the right time, you're going to generate speed. And the right time is at the bottom of the transition. That transition goes from down to flat. Try and squash the bike into the floor. The next question comes from Carnes97. He's just bought a second-hand bike and it doesn't have an ISCG mount and the chain keeps coming off when I go through bumpy sections. Should I get a narrow wide chainring or a BB mounted chain guide?
Annoying because there's nothing worse than your chain coming off.
Dangerous.
I definitely recommend first up try that narrow wide chain guide. It's a cheaper option, easy to fit, easy to install as well. And if that doesn't work, then you always just add in a little top guide as well. They're quite easy to fit as well and they're relatively cheap. So try one, then try the other if it doesn't work. Sounds
good advice to me. William Ireland has just made the change to clipless pedals. He's got Giro chamber shoes and Crank Brothers Mallet E's, exactly the same combo as I've got. And he says he's struggling to get them set up. He said he can't get clipped in sometimes. And he's tried sort of spacing the cleat out. You do get spacers with the pedals, don't you?
Yeah.
But sometimes his feet jam up against the cranks. So I'll tell you my setup. What I do is run my cleats right in. So if this is your right, you know, cranks are here, right and left. I run the cleat right in towards the crank, so that spaces out my foot a little bit, and I also run 2 of the washers on the pedals, so that spaces them out again from the cranks, and that gives you loads of space to move around. And you can also play around with the adjustable screws. in the top of your pedals, just so you don't get any friction.
Yeah, that's like similar. We saw Danny Hart didn't actually have any screws, didn't we, at
true.
the Fort William World Cup? So maybe you could try that as well.
Yeah. Pistol Pete is asking about World Cup downhill riders where the stakes are so high, the margin for error is so slim, and the chance of injury inevitable. Why don't they wear more body armour or protection?
That's a good question.
I want to answer this, and I think it's down to fashion, and I'm probably guilty of this as well, because I didn't used to wear much when I raced downhill, but most of them just don't. I think they think it's cooler just to wear knee pads and not wear elbow pads.
Yeah, and it also comes down to the feeling. I think when you've got sort of elbow pads, back plate, chest plate, it's a bit uncomfortable. It's sort of a bit uneasing. So when you're just wearing nothing, you do feel very light, very flexible. But in saying that, in recent years, manufacturers have cottoned onto this. They've brought out new armor ranges, and they've also got something that's like a lot lighter in the body, and they're using that D3O material. So it's offering protection but comfort at the same time.
Definitely, there's a bit of that as well, yeah. Erism Cernic, how do I get used to clips? I like them on the climbs, but not so much on the downhills. It's just time for me. It took me a while to get used to them. Just leave them on there. If you really want to use them, just spend a bit of time riding.
Definitely. I'd always been a flat pedal rider. Felt the same as you. It took me a long time to get used to them. The best thing is to go out and ride in the hardest conditions, find the hardest trails, and just try not to think about running clip pedals, really.
And if you haven't seen it already, check out our video on how to ride with clipless pedals. When you're first out on the trail, you're going to want to unclip early, look for somewhere to stop and put your foot down. You don't want to get into that horrible situation of coming to a stop and then toppling over. We've all done it when we first started riding clipless pedals. After a while, you'll instinctively pull your heel out when you come to a stop. It'll be much easier.
Right, Neil, you've had enough. Come on, let's go on to the quick fire round. I'll ask you some questions. But remember, answer them quick. The first one, Nathan Santos. What is the difference between 650B and 27.5?
Nothing, different names for the same size wheels.
09 Blow, when cornering, is it best to lean the bike over and keeping your body upright, or leaning your body over and keep the bike upright like on a motorcycle?
No, the first one, not like a motorcycle. Lean the bike over, keep your weight to the outside.
And Patrick Bronson is saying, will pumping up my front fork to higher pressure help speed up the rebound and add ease to my bunny hops? If so, what pressure do you suggest?
No, it won't help with bunny hops. It might mess around with the rebound, might make them a bit faster, but you'd want to adjust it to counter that anyway. But no, it won't help with bunny hops.
DGY Gaming, could you show how to do a rolling endo 180 endo?
Yes, we should do a video on that.
Coming soon, actually.
Yeah.
Luca Portic is saying, why don't downhillers ride in fixed gear without a rear mech? They don't pedal much anyways and will save a lot of weight.
They do pedal a lot, actually. Yeah, they don't have as many gears. They only have 7 gears, most downhillers, but they definitely need them. Time for Correct Me If I'm Wrong, where we check out your videos you've sent us and we'll give you a bit of advice. Don't forget, you can always send them to ask@gmbn.com. First one comes from Adam Rook, and he's hitting this drop-off. What do you reckon, Scott?
It does look a little bit uncomfortable in the run-in, doesn't he? That last-minute pedal stroke as well, rigid arms, hips aren't really relaxed. It's definitely got a little bit to do in his technique and get that bunny hop that we always talk about as well.
Yeah, definitely slide a bit further back. The big thing I noticed, Adam, is your left foot. You can see it slide on the pedal. So I'll check your foot placement. We talked about that already, actually. And also make sure you've got some nice grippy flat pedals and decent shoes that will sort of grip on those nicely.
Flat pedals and an upgrade can be one of the best points to make you a better rider. That contact point, same with grips, they're really personal, but they do make a huge difference, don't they?
Yeah. Next video comes from Jack Spranger, riding a pump track on his XC bike, and he's doing a manual through the rollers. That's a really good pump coming in. Now time for a manual. Actually looks pretty good. Gets the front wheel up and over. That's not easy, Adam. You look pretty, Jack. You look like quite a small rider, quite a big bike. You've definitely got to throw your weight around to do that.
And he's got his saddle up high as well, so that is good work. It's really hard. I mean, you could get that manual a lot nicer if you leant back further over the saddle. Yeah. With the high seat being there, it's a bit of an awkward position for him to actually slide back. You'd actually go to unweight, lift up, and then slide back. So it's pretty smooth, and he's definitely looking good on the manual there. Yeah,
that's cool. If you can, definitely drop your seat a little bit further. I don't know if you can, you're on a cross-country bike. And then that'll give you the chance to sort of pump your legs through the middle of that dip as well. And the last video this week has been sent in by Garrison Asper, and it's his friend Dylan riding the local dirt jumps.
Coming in
slow-mo.
Ooh, boom. Oh, that's not the outcome that I think Dylan wanted.
Massive OTB. Why was that, Scott?
What's an OTB?
Over the bars. I'm good at those.
Yeah. Are you?
Yeah.
So maybe you could give him some advice
Well,
then.
yeah. Dylan, you've cased your back wheel, and that has just caused all your weight to go forward, and obviously your hand has slipped off the bar as well, which isn't going to help. So that case would need a bunny hop to go over, basically, wouldn't it?
Unless whiskey throttle.
Yes. Hope you didn't get injured. That's it for this week's Ask GMBN. Down there, look, just down there.
What, on the table?
There's a comment section just below this video. You can leave your questions there.
Below the table?
Not below the table, no, in the comment section. Okay. Or use the hashtag AskGMBN on social media.
Anyway, for more great videos, why don't you click just up there and you'll get to how to fit handlebars.
And click down there for how to ride with a dropper seat post.
And you can click this big globe right here and you'll get to subscribe.
Thumbs up if you like us at GMBN.
And click on the shop as well, get some goodies.
Ooh.